Today I want to talk about some practices and also some herbs that change one's potentials, give you abilities or extend abilities that you may have, or well, I have done this for myself, so I could kind of talk about some personal experiences. Uh, One of the things that is practicing, I think the Hindus or yogis, they do this too, is that your brain or anybody's brain, there is it has several compartments or several parts, and the older part of the brain is dedicated to maintaining body functions like heart or breathing, and it kind of goes to new cortex, or the new cortex grew out of the or on top of the older brain. But imagine that you have a central computer, a central processor, and it has certain amount of processing power, and then if you don't waste these energies or this processing power on stupid stuff. For example, one of the things that people, when they get older, they get afflicted with is they become dependent, or constantly evaluating past histories, or manage their affairs currently. It's like you're dedicating a lot of your time and energy to just maintaining and regurgitating these things. But there are some practices in Sufism that kind of stops. If you cut back and live more in present time, then it's like this energy or this processing power is free, and then you will have experiences which, like mystics or psychics, they have, is because they don't waste their energy, they don't endlessly concern with things that are not really worth it that much. So this is kind of interesting, because there are many levels or hierarchies of thinking or experiencing, and when you live in the present and you cut back on all these processing time, then initially you will get glimpses of these other experiences. Some of your experiences will become like psychic or premonitory, but then it goes way beyond that. There are herbs and chemicals that also they do these things. I started taking Phenibat, which is like right now is a over-the-counter kind of supplement, and the Russians discovered Phenibat because when they were sending their cosmonauts into outer space, like these poor guys, they were strapped with this giant rocket, and anything could go wrong. So there was a lot of anxiety, and when they took Phenibat, cut back on that, and they could, use this calm and this serenity to do other stuff, like manage this trip. I know a lot of herbs that induce serenity, or they also they take away anxiety or depression. I've on my Facebook page, it's a little while ago, but if you look, I have different collections of herbs. I take 5, 6 different herbs that induce serenity or calm or happiness. Um, I take, usually I buy them in liquid form, like they're extracts. They are not difficult to use. They're not like powder. So I could take like a cold drink, like a 7 Up or soda, and put in some drips of each of these, and they will they'll do as good a job as if I took the powder form. But the problem with the powder form is that then you need to get a medium. You have to put it in a shake, and then you have to make the shake. But the liquid form, this easier and more concentrate. I have a list of these herbs for different purposes that I want to use, and on the Serenity department, there is Kava Kava and St. John's Wort. There's like 6 of them. I can go over the linden flower extract and so on. And so you kind of go back and look at that those pictures and those names, and you could do research on your own. But this is not the collection I have to cut back on anxiety and on depression, and also on induce serenity. There is other herbs I use that do other stuff, and I have 2 other sets. One is about 12 different liquid herbs that I use, and they all induce different functions of the brain. They speed it up or make it better or improve memory. There is a list too on that. Ginkgo biloba or Bakuba monieri. There's 12 of them in this collection. Then there is well, I'm an old fart. I'm 59, so I use about 12, 13 different herbs, all of them in liquid in a small extract form, and they kind of they really help with down there. But well, I feel like I'm in my 20s, and well, I'm taking courses to become an attorney. I'm going through the courses and the coursework like I have never done in my whole life. But the herbs are not the only motivation. Now everything has gone into digital form, and even though I have vision issues, like my reading speed is very slow, not great. So I am able to use apps or programs to put these long text or even entire sections of the book, like 50 pages at a time, into a program that convert it to audio and break it up into 15-minute segments, and I go through them like there's no tomorrow. I never have been so able to go through a lot of text and also study so rapidly. Well, the other thing that's also helping me out is that, say for example, I was studying citation blue books, which is like a part of the course on as a paralegal, and then there's all these short videos by different authors. I just, if a topic is new, I don't do it with the older topics that I'm kind of familiar with, but the stuff that's totally new, I go use these things, and then I could go review or listen to the more in-depth, much more extensive treaties, have them read for me, and then have a really good understanding. So, but looking beyond these things, the I'm able, because I care about this stuff, to extend extend capabilities that were formerly, I'm a psychic and I know of different phenomena that, hey, this really exists, and I had this experience. But it wasn't like 10 years or 15 years ago. It wasn't like a daily, like be confronted or experience it, and then it wasn't like that. It was like once in a blue moon, I had this experience, and then I kind of memorized it that, hey, this can happen. But what if you watch the movie Limitless, and initially the guy who was the gardener was like a numbskull, and he started taking all these different nootropics and drugs, and his his capabilities extended, and finally he was doing research or all this stuff. But the what you should become mindful, because people who are like they're very smart, or they have in a similar fashion extended these capabilities, they also become very difficult despots, or commit criminals. In the movie the Limitless, you see the guy, he started doing very crazy things, and I think he also committed murder too. He went into a hotel and killed the lady, or his date for that night. So, but if you're not supposed to forget your morals, and just because somebody has extended capabilities, does not mean that it's not a license to do whatever the fuck you want. This is just for personal use. Well, this I see a lot of such occurrences in history, and I want to tell you one or two that are very weird. There is ways, if you do good meditation, or that some psychics, like I've talked about this in my previous videos, they can commune with God, or they can hear higher spirits. So what happens with some of these people is that they acquire these exceptional knowledge, or exceptional experiences, which are very sweet and good, but then it really hits them in the head that, hey, it wasn't really because of these practices, or because I was taking these herbs. No, it was me. It was that's just baloney. Like, I am like many people. There is nothing exceptional about me or about them. But then they do the same thing. They engage in trying to reformulate the society, become despots, or a criminal in a way, just because you're a little smarter, or you had these psychic experiences, doesn't mean that you have a license to, like, overthrow the government, or rewrite social norms. Or, well, there was a movie or episode in I think it was called Out of Bound, or something like that. That the state comes in and figures out which kid is gonna be like this, and they kill him after his 13 years or 11th year, something like that. But this is something that happens, and also that the whole society is collectively going there, because they have been doing studies, and they found out that that the whole population, the general IQ of everybody is gradually increasing, and some of it also has to do with the modes of acquiring information. Like a lot of people are migrating to uh, to to the internet. If I have some very strange question, I could just ask Google. But there is something that happens to your brain when when you are able to access information very quickly. Is I think our brain has a way of indexing things, like putting them in hierarchies, and then when it doesn't know something in the past, somebody who would be like a researcher or a nerd, he had like I was telling you, I had these psychic experiences in the past, but not so often. But I could like go back to that registry and kind of dig them out and say, hey, this is what's happening right now. Is like this, it happened in the past. But what if everybody became like this? What if they had access to Google and YouTube, and they could go back into vast array of very strange and disconnected experiences. And what happens with most people is not only their IQ increases, but they come into this same delusion. A lot of these geniuses, or the guys that I was talking about, they become afflicted. They get this sense that they are like God. Hey, just because I thought about this, hey, we can do this now. But that's not true. Well, in fact, the moral code is what saves many people from destroying themselves with these extended capabilities. I think that a lot of the people who are in prison, they also they have above average IQ, but that's not very good. You just have to be very mindful of how you use or how far you want to go with these things. Well, also that what many people do when this happens is that they go back and they retrace their lives. Like I was talking with my son, he was telling me, "Oh, Dad, look, I'm such a good kid. I don't do this and that, and I was always like this, I told him, and you're a very fantastic liar too, because you weren't always like this, but the brain, once it gets settled down and has some achievements, the people, they tend to go back and rewrite the history and say, oh, but that's not true. There is a trajectory, there is a history. But I'm getting drifted from what I was trying to do. There are many hierarchies of experiences and also modes of thinking. And one other one that's the Quran talks about it. The Quran says that in any place there is more than two people in that congregation or in that, well, God is there too. But this is kind of referring to an experience that if people are praying together or they're meditating together, there is a amplification of these psychic energies, and things happen that normally would not happen just by one person by himself or herself. Well, then I think Christianity kind of hints at this too, because in passage from in some of the Bibles says that Jesus was traveling and he went to an area that was really his hometown, and the people, they knew him from the past. They were not looking at him as a rabbi or Messiah, but then the Bible says that then he did not or could not perform as many miracles as he did in other places. So in other places where he was, the people, they were in that mode of or experience, and it kind of magnified what was already with Jesus, and he was able to do all this healing and gifted things, versus where he was in his hometown. This is a real phenomenon. I've had many experiences like this. It is real. Well, thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel. I don't know what kind of name I'm gonna have to put on this video. Please subscribe and leave your comment.